It's September 17th, 2019, and this is Kate Stalker interviewing Jim Reiter, who's about to go through some big changes in his life. Thanks for coming in, Jim. Tell me why you want to share your story.
It's kind of ironic that you're interviewing a police officer and not the other way around.
It's never happened before.
Sorry, that just came to my mind. I had to add a little humor into this. So you asked me to be interviewed for your work that you're doing for the city of Monona in the library, and as a police officer with the Monona Police Department. I think you've probably found some interest in some of our stories that we could tell. So
I'm sure you have some very interesting stories that you can't tell as well.
Yeah, sure.
So let's start with your childhood. Where were you born?
Not too far away in McFarland, south of here in Wisconsin. So, yeah.
Have you lived there your whole life?
I have.
And
Yep.
And what did your parents do?
Dad worked for the Public Works in McFarland, so streets and water. And then my mom worked in the nursing field for a little while, and then like American Red Cross. So.
Oh, really? The American Red Cross. Good.
Yeah.
And you have brothers and sisters?
Yep. I got, two stepbrothers and then one brother. Yeah.
All boys.
All boys.
Ooh, that must have been fun.
Yeah.
So do you have any family members who were really influential in your life? Or
Yeah.
any moments with family members that were influential?
Yeah. Most of them were in public safety of some sort. My grandfather was a fire chief. My uncle was a fire chief, firefighter. My dad was a firefighter. My mom was an EMT.
Oh my.
Yeah. And I had aunts and uncles that were in public safety. So it kind of runs in the family, so it's kind of ironic that I'm here. But now moving on to the firefighter side of things, because
Yes.
you caught me on my last week of
Yes.
being a police officer in the city of Monona.
I
so.
purposefully caught you on your last week. It's a big week of change for you, and I want to talk about that. Yeah, first, before we talk about your new position, we should talk about the position you have held for the city of Monona. Tell me your job description and how long you've been doing it.
So I'm the community resource officer. I've been in this position for a little over 5 years. The community officer is kind of the face of the police department to reach out to the community and work with communities, members, citizens, and to also do things from our police department to our community or be involved. So some of the things that we do are National Night Out, which is held in August. We do our bike rodeo with the school. We do our Citizens Academy. We do lunch with some of our students in the schools with our school officer. And just and other presentations, stuff like we're doing right now.
Mm-hmm.
So it's just kind of a person that the community can relate to. We do a lot of things with our senior center and our seniors because we do have a very high population of seniors in Monona. So many of them I know and see often. So that's part of my responsibility.
Well, so you're the happy, smiling face of the police department.
Right. And not only that, I have to help out patrol. So officers that are taking calls, I do help them out.
Mm-hmm.
Our detective division, I do train police officers. So when we have in-service and training, I have to go instruct with them as well. So I have a wide variety of duties for the department.
I see.
So.
And I have to note for those who can't see you that you are dressed with weaponry and communications devices.
Oh yeah, we have.
So it's not all fun and games.
No, it's not. It's not. But the wide variety that this position offers is completely different than your normal officer that's out patrolling, taking calls, and stuff like that. There's so many different variables that happen with my position that is very unique.
Yes.
Than the regular patrol officer. So.
Do you have any psychology in your background?
I don't, but I feel like I should.
Maybe you do now.
Maybe I do now. Yes.
Yes. So you went to high school in McFarland?
I did,
guessing?
yep.
And then did you go to college?
Yeah, I have an associate's degree in criminal justice,
Mhm.
which should bring psychology into that.
Yeah.
Because a lot of, if the majority of our work is talking to people and trying to relate to people as best we can and figure out their problems, whether or not we do
Right.
figure out their problems, at least we can try to help guide them,
Sure.
you know, in a way. So
Sure. Well, I'm sure you get an education on the job in that.
absolutely.
Yeah. So what brought you to Monona specifically to work?
So I actually started as a dispatcher, part-time dispatcher, and then was hired full-time, and then knew that I wanted to get in law enforcement while dispatching for the city of Monona. And they weren't hiring anybody at the time, so I went through college and got hired as a deputy at the Dane County Sheriff's Office
Oh.
and worked there for 4 years. Majority of it was in the jail, so if you want to learn about how to talk to people in a very controlled environment, but some of the most meanest or, you know, bad individuals that you can think of that are incarcerated because of, you know, homicides or, you know, whatever it could be, that would be a place to work.
Yes.
To try to just talk to people, and some of those people you wouldn't even know that the crimes that they did
Mm.
would fall along with them because of, you know, they actually talk to you like we're talking here,
Mhm.
you know, and then there's others that
So I could be a ruthless criminal and
You
you
could.
wouldn't be able to tell.
Yeah, probably not. No. So it's just a little different, you know, knowing that that person probably allegedly took somebody's life, and
Mhm.
you're sitting here having a conversation with them like
Mhm.
everything's fine. So
Yeah.
just very unique. So
I'm sure it is. It
Um,
must give you some reason to think when you leave your job at night.
yes.
Yeah.
So then Monona Police was hiring, and I got hired back as a police officer. That was in 2008, and I've been here ever since. So we're in 2019.
Ever
So
since.
11 years.
Wow. And so tell me, what were some of your biggest challenges in this position that you hold now?
Biggest challenges. I would say trying to. Oh, that's a good question. Probably trying to, because when I was hired as a deputy, and I was inside in the jail, and so it's more controlled, and you have a lot of partners that are around, and coming to the city of Monona, you may only have one partner, so the police department, we're definitely understaffed, and there's studies to show that, but we work with what we have, and our officers are very good with that, knowing that we have to work with what we have and what we got. Whereas agency that's nearby us, that surrounds Monona, they can have 5 or 6 officers show up to a call where we'll have maybe 1 or 2 show up to that same call and have to deal with it. So knowing how to be able to work independently and work with what you have, I think was a bigger challenge.
Is it more frightening maybe to know that you have fewer resources?
I don't think so,
No.
because we know that we can get those resources if we need them really quickly
From other communities?
from other communities that are willing to come and help us out.
Okay, good.
So that's good, but knowing that now that I look at it, knowing that we're able to handle calls with fewer resources as another agency kind of shows a little bit of pride that we're able to do something
Absolutely.
just as well, if not better, than that other agency.
Right. And you just hope that you don't have any major issues here when you're understaffed.
Right.
Although you've had 2 in the last week.
We've had some tragedy in the last week, yes, in our department, going to calls to motor vehicle accidents. Yeah.
Yes, and that's a rare thing. And
Mhm.
twice in a couple of days is very sad.
Yes, it is.
So tell me about your family a little bit. What, do you have children?
I got one boy. His name is Noah. He's 9,
9.
and one wife, and her name is Amy.
Okay, good. And you still live in McFarland.
Yes. Yep.
And now you will be going to work in McFarland.
I will be.
So you'll be closer to home?
I will be, yep.
Will that change your home life at all, do you think?
The hours that I work will change. I think it will change home life, I think for the better.
Yeah.
Maybe less stress of working as a law enforcement officer and going to be a firefighter.
Yes, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Your new position is what?
It's a administrative fire captain with McFarland Fire Rescue.
Mm-hmm. So is it a desk job?
Yes and no. So I am a firefighter and I'll be an EMT as well. So I will have to go to calls, be responsible for responding to calls.
Mm.
But there will be desk work that's included in that when not going to calls.
Huh. I have never heard of anyone who is a police officer, a firefighter, and an EMT. Is that a rare thing, or am I just out of the loop?
No, it's not too unrare. There's people that are police officers that are EMTs, and then I've been with McFarland for almost 20 years now as a part-time firefighter. So now there's just an opportunity to go full-time.
I see.
So,
But you're staying in Monona as well.
I will be, yep. They've asked if I would help with dispatching on a part-time basis, so I guess I just can't leave Monona.
I hear that a lot. So you're basically back to your first job with the city of Monona.
Right, and I've never really given up dispatching, even though I'm a police officer. I do occasionally get asked to fill in for dispatch when there's an opening, shift that needs to be filled, and I don't have any regular community officer duties taking place. So I've kept up my skills as a dispatcher as well. So
good. Everyone will be happy to hear that. And what I imagine dispatching is in many ways the most important job in your field.
It certainly is. They are commonly overlooked as the first responder, as not being one, but truly the dispatchers are. They may not actually be there in person, but they're there over the phone or whatever method it might be.
And again, you don't need a psychology degree.
No, you don't.
Which also surprises me.
Sure.
Yeah. So have you had any situations as a dispatcher that you can talk about, something that was difficult for you, or something that you were really excited and proud about?
There is one call that was quite interesting. It was our officers were looking to apprehend an individual for whatever crime it was that he allegedly had done, and he showed up at a house, and I think we were anticipating that he might show up there, and somebody that was in the house called and said all they would say is so and so, or they didn't even say his name. They just said, "Hi, he's here."
Mm-hmm.
And so then we had to piece through in yes or no questions about what this was. And I was kind of talked to that, this guy is on the loose and he may show up someplace, and, this is where he'd be. And if we get a phone call about that, send officers there right away. And so good thing that happened, because otherwise I would not have any clue. But, through yes or no questions about, is he wearing, for instance, like a blue shirt?
Sure.
Yes or no, And so the person on the other end just answered those questions as best as they could without tipping off our suspect with leaving. So it actually went very smoothly. She kind of talked like she was ordering a pizza at one time, or, stuff like that. So it was a very unique phone call. So.
And I've heard that that's actually good advice, to pretend you're ordering a pizza.
Sometimes, but we don't want to confuse the dispatcher either.
Mm-hmm.
We may have to get more information than just saying you're trying to order pepperoni pizza, because it may be confusing for the dispatcher, but they might pick up on what's happening.
Do you have advice for someone in a situation like that, where they're feeling threatened in their home and they can't talk to you?
Well, technology has evolved a little bit to where you can text 911. So if you're not able to talk to anybody over the phone, you can send a text via 911. and get help that way.
And if you just text 911 and say nothing, who comes?
Well, you may not get anybody right away, but you may get the dispatcher sending you a text back, saying, this is 911, what's the address of your emergency?
I see.
So, and that also helps for the hearing impaired as well.
Sure, I'm sure it does, yeah. So what kinds of things have really meant a lot to you in community policing? Have you had moments where you feel like you've really accomplished something important?
So over the last few years, I think what we've accomplished, or what we brought to Monona PD, is civilian response to active shooter events. What we can do to help people in the community if they're ever involved in an incident, and we give them the some training, avoid, deny, and defend, or it's sometimes known as run, hide, fight. And then in the schools we use ALICE, and there's an acronym for that, and I can't remember exactly what ALICE stands for, but unfortunately, we have a lot of active shooting events taking place throughout the country, and if we can provide tools or just knowledge to give people, if something were to happen, what they can do to defend themselves or others if that were to happen. So I think doing that and being able to create a bond, as well as other presentations that we do, such as scams and home safety and stuff like that to our population, I think really helps.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. It's got to make you feel good.
Yeah.
So has your perception of community needs changed as a result of your time in the police department? Have things changed, or have you changed how you look at it?
I find that a lot of people don't talk to their neighbors about if they have a problem. They just resort to calling the police.
Oh, you mean a problem between neighbors?
Between neighbors. And whether or not they've worked it out or not, I don't know. Sometimes they claim that they do, and sometimes we just don't know if they do. But I've always been the one that if you have an issue with somebody or your neighbor, just say, hey, I don't like this, or your dog barks, or your trailer's been parked in front of my driveway for, a week. Can you move it, please?
Sure.
But not everybody, a lot of people just don't want to confront other people, so they call the police. And then I think that is actually what brings the tension.
Sure, it escalates.
It escalates to now the police are involved, Now I get it if your neighbor tells you to pound sand and you absolutely just don't get along with your neighbor, to call the police. Okay, I get that. At least you've tried. But just try, to talk to your neighbors, because you're the ones that has to live around them. We don't.
Absolutely.
So.
And sometimes maybe a threat to call the police next time would be better than actually jumping to that as a first resort.
Right. So that's if there's anything that, I think we as police officers can do is just talk to your neighbor, get to know them. And then if you do have a problem, at least you can kind of work it out.
Right. That's what we're doing with this project, right?
Right.
Talk to your neighbor. What community issues do you see in the future? Are there trends that frighten you or excite you, or is there some change taking place that you're aware of?
There's obviously, we talked about the active shooter events, or active killing events, I should say, because they're not all shootings. That seems to be a nasty trend that's occurring throughout the country. And that's why we're trying to provide the training for people that may be involved in something like this, of what they can do to help themselves. The other nasty thing that I see out there is vaping. The chemicals that are in there are 10 times worse than actual tobacco. If you ever look up what vaping has in it, I mean, there's metal shavings that are in there. and now individuals are having lung problems and they're dying of,
Last-
major lung problems.
Last couple of weeks, that's been all over the news.
Yes, it's because there's no regulation of what goes into those.
And do you see that a lot in Monona?
Vaping?
Yes.
Our high school sees quite a bit of it.
Really?
Yeah. And it's bad. It's like, it's not just, I don't know if people do it because they think it's cool or if they're, if it's just a trend or whatever, but I mean, you're putting things into your body that you probably wouldn't normally do any other day, so why would you do it with that?
Exactly. Well, there needs to be some education there, I think.
Right.
So do you and your family go to any festivals in Monona or do anything fun, or are you always at work when you're doing these things?
No, we have gone to the Monona Fest. Normally the 4th of July Fest I'm working. So maybe we'll be able to go to that next year.
Yeah.
But we have gone to the Fall Festival before that Parks and Rec hosts. We've been there, so that's always a good time.
Are you ever really off duty when you're at these things, or I imagine
yes
a lot
and
of
no.
people know you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes and no. So it is kind of difficult, but maybe we'll be able to enjoy those more. That I won't be working here.
Right,
So.
right. Because nobody knows the face of a dispatcher.
Right.
Yes, yes. So, what is something you would tell a person moving to Monona today? You certainly know Monona better than most. Do you have any insights you'd share?
As a crime prevention officer, I would say lock your stuff up. Lock your doors to your car. Take things out of sight. Put them away. Bring them inside your house and lock your home doors. A lot of theft it can be prevented with just locking your doors. It's a motive of opportunity. So people that are walking by, try your car doors. It's unlocked. They're now inside your car, taking whatever they can, whatever they want, and then moving on to the next vehicle. I think out of my 11 years here, I think I've had one vehicle window broken where they took something out.
Oh.
It's always car doors that are unlocked.
Wow.
So.
Interesting. And is that, in your estimation, a juvenile crime normally?
Sometimes, and it depends what it is, but yeah, it's normally that younger person that does it.
They aren't stealing the house plant you left on the back seat.
No, not normally.
No. So, personal life or professional life, what accomplishment are you most proud of?
I think where I'm at today. We have a family. We just built the house. And now I'm moving into a new career that I've always wanted to do.
Yeah,
So
that's
I think
great.
that's where we're at.
Very nice. So, last question, but it's a tough one. What is the one thing you would want people to remember about you when they say your name, after you're gone, when you're working in McFarland and people around here mention you? What's the word or words you want them to associate you with?
I'm doing it now. Laughter.
Okay.
Normally I try to make a funny comment, as I did when we first started this.
Yes.
Usually I do that with my presentations to kind of break the ice. Some people have a negative thought about the police, which I couldn't understand. But here in Monona, I don't think we're all negative. We do have negative times, we do have negative moments. But breaking that ice when I'm going in to talk to a group of people, I think really helps. And
Yes.
so just getting a laugh out of people and realizing that we're not always business in the police business. So.
And that is why everyone's going to miss you. Thank you very much for coming in today.